something absolutely critical just surfaced from the league's trade conversation circles that's forcing every Lakers fan to confront a question we never thought we'd seriously have to consider in 2025. And the answer to this question will define whether this franchise competes for championships or slides into mediocrity for the next half-decade. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, your ultimate destination for a comprehensive Los Angeles Lakers coverage, breaking news, insider analysis, and everything you need to stay completely dialed in with our beloved purple and gold. I'm bringing you information today that connects recent developments across the league directly to decisions the Lakers front office is evaluating right now, discussions that involve the cornerstone of our defense, the most dominant two-way big man we've had since Shaq, and strategic calculations that could fundamentally reshape this roster's championship trajectory. What I'm about to break down will challenge everything you thought you knew about where this team is heading, so stay locked in, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the next few months represent the most critical period in Lakers basketball since we won the championship in the bubble. Let me take you inside the complex landscape that's developing around the Lakers right now, because understanding the complete picture of what's happening across the NBA is absolutely essential for grasping why certain conversations are even taking place. The league is in a fascinating moment where multiple contenders are evaluating their championship windows, assessing whether their current cores can actually deliver titles or whether more dramatic changes are necessary. We're seeing teams make aggressive moves, sacrificing future assets for present-day upgrades, while other franchises are recognizing their windows have closed and pivoting toward rebuilds around young talent. The Lakers sit somewhere in the middle of this spectrum, with a veteran superstar in LeBron James who's defying father time but can't play forever, emerging young talent and players who are developing but haven't fully arrived yet, and a roster construction that's good enough to compete but maybe not quite elite enough to win it all. Anthony Davis sits at the absolute center of every strategic calculation this organization makes. AD is currently averaging monster numbers that remind everyone why he's consistently been considered one of the 5 best players in the NBA when healthy. Through the early portion of this season, he's putting up dominant performances on both ends of the floor, protecting the rim at an elite level, stretching defenses with his versatile offensive game, and providing that two-way impact that only a handful of players in the entire league can deliver. His offensive rating and defensive rating both indicate he's playing at an MVP caliber level, the kind of production that championship teams absolutely require from their best players. When you watch Lakers games, it's impossible not to notice how much of what we do successfully runs through AD, how his presence warps opposing game plans, how his ability to switch defensively and punish mismatches offensively creates advantages that our entire system exploits. But here's where things get complicated, and this is what Lakers Nation needs to understand clearly. Around the league, teams are constantly evaluating trade scenarios, exploring hypothetical deals that could improve their championship odds, and having conversations about moving significant pieces if the price is right. And when you have a player of Anthony Davis's caliber, especially one who's 32 years old with a history of injury concerns, other teams start wondering whether there's a scenario where he becomes available. The speculation isn't coming from nowhere. It's rooted in the cold reality that the Lakers are in a tricky competitive position, not bad enough to rebuild, but not quite good enough to be considered genuine title favorites, and that Davis represents massive trade value that could theoretically be converted into multiple pieces that reshape the roster's long-term outlook. Recent reports have surfaced about teams across the league evaluating what it would take to acquire a player of Davis's caliber. The New York Knicks, for example, are desperately trying to cement their status as legitimate championship contenders in the Eastern Conference. Despite adding significant talent in the offseason and sitting with a solid record, questions persist about whether they have enough to actually win it all. Their front court, while talented, lacks that truly elite two-way presence that Davis represents. Karl Anthony Towns is an offensive force, but has never been the defensive anchor you need in the playoffs. Mitchell Robinson provides rim protection, but lacks offensive versatility. A player like Anthony Davis, who can do absolutely everything at an elite level on both ends, would instantly transform the Knicks from hopeful contenders into legitimate title favorites. That's not speculation, that's just basketball reality. The trade framework that's been discussed hypothetically around the league is fascinating and reveals how much value Davis still commands. In a theoretical scenario where the Knicks wanted to aggressively pursue Davis, they'd likely have to package multiple rotation players, probably including someone like OG Anunoby, who brings elite 3-and-D capabilities, Josh Hart, who provides toughness and versatility, and significant draft compensation to even get the Lakers to consider a conversation. That kind of package tells you everything about how the league values Anthony Davis. Teams aren't offering role players and second-round picks. They're talking about gutting their depth, sacrificing future flexibility, and going all in, because they recognize that players who can legitimately impact both ends of the floor at Davis's level are almost impossible to find. But here's what makes this entire conversation so critical for Lakers fans to process. Just because other teams are interested, and just because a hypothetical trade framework exists, doesn't mean the Lakers should or would actually pull the trigger. In fact, when you dig into the specifics of what trading Anthony Davis would actually mean for this organization, when you analyze the on-court impact and the strategic implications, a very strong case emerges that keeping AD in purple and gold is not just preferable, but absolutely essential if this franchise wants to compete for championships while LeBron is still performing at an elite level. Let me walk you through exactly why moving Davis would be franchise malpractice and why Lakers fans should be hoping the front office recognizes this clearly. First, let's talk about the pure basketball impact that Anthony Davis provides for this team. AD is averaging over 20 points and 10 rebounds per game with elite efficiency, shooting over 50% from the floor, and providing defensive metrics that rank among the best in the entire NBA. His offensive rating of 113 means the Lakers score at an elite rate when he's on the floor. His defensive rating of 105 indicates opponents struggle to score efficiently when he's protecting the rim and switching onto perimeter players. Those numbers aren't just good. They're elite-tier production that you absolutely cannot replace by committee. When people casually suggest trading a player like Davis for multiple pieces, they're ignoring the fundamental basketball truth that one truly elite player is almost always more valuable than 3 good players, especially in the playoffs when rotations tighten and stars determine outcomes. Davis's defensive versatility is particularly irreplaceable in today's NBA. Modern offenses are designed to hunt mismatches, to force switches that create favorable matchups, and to exploit defensive weaknesses through sophisticated pick-and-roll actions and off-ball screens. Having a big man who can legitimately switch onto guards, protect the rim against drives, and guard power forwards in the post without needing constant help defense is a massive competitive advantage that only a handful of players in the league provide. When the Lakers face elite offensive teams in the playoffs, Davis's ability to guard multiple positions and erase mistakes from teammates becomes absolutely critical. Replacing that with even very good defenders who lack his unique combination of size, length, and lateral quickness would represent a significant downgrade that no amount of offensive production from acquired players could fully compensate for. Offensively, Davis gives the Lakers a dimension that's almost impossible to replicate. He can operate in the post against smaller defenders, step out and knock down mid-range jumpers when teams go small, roll hard to the rim as a lob threat in pick-and-roll actions, and increasingly space the floor with three-point shooting that keeps defenses honest. That versatility makes the Lakers' offense incredibly difficult to game plan against because you can't just load up to stop one thing. If you go small to switch everything, Davis punishes you in the post. If you put a traditional big on him, he drags them away from the rim and attacks in space. If you send aggressive help defense, he's an elite passer who finds open shooters. This multi-dimensional offensive impact is precisely what allows LeBron to operate with more space, and what creates opportunities for role players to thrive in their designated roles. The chemistry between LeBron James and Anthony Davis is another factor that gets dramatically underestimated in these trade discussions. They've spent years developing on-court synergy that makes both players more effective. LeBron understands exactly where Davis likes to catch the ball, knows his timing on rolls to the rim, recognizes when to feed him in the post versus when to space for him to operate. Davis has learned how to set screens that maximize LeBron's ability to attack downhill, how to position himself for offensive rebounds when LeBron penetrates, how to provide weak-side rim protection that allows LeBron to gamble for steals without destroying defensive integrity. That kind of chemistry takes years to develop and represents a massive competitive advantage that you throw away the moment you trade one of them. Would new players eventually develop chemistry? Sure, but you don't have years to wait for that development when LeBron is in the twilight of his career. Now let's address the hypothetical trade package that teams like the Knicks might offer, because this is where Lakers fans need to think critically about value. Yes, players like OG Anunoby and Josh Hart are legitimately good NBA players who would help the Lakers in certain areas. Anunoby is an elite perimeter defender who can knock down three-pointers at a high rate, exactly the kind of 3-and-D wing that every contender needs. Hart is a toughness and hustle guy who does all the little things, grabs rebounds, makes smart passes, and provides versatility across multiple positions. Adding a first-round draft pick gives you a future asset that could become valuable. On paper, getting multiple rotation players plus draft capital for one star sounds like it could add depth and flexibility to the roster. But here's the problem with that logic. Depth matters much less in the playoffs than star power does. When rotations shrink to 8 or 9 players in crucial playoff games, when the intensity ramps up and every possession matters, having 3 good players doesn't help you nearly as much as having one genuinely elite player who can take over games in critical moments. The Lakers would be trading a top 10 player in the NBA for pieces that make them better in the regular season, but probably worse in the playoffs, which is exactly backwards from what a championship contending team should prioritize. History shows repeatedly that teams who break up star duos to add depth almost always regret it unless the star they're trading is clearly declining or causing locker room problems, neither of which applies to Davis. The fit issues with hypothetical incoming players also deserve serious examination. Anunoby is excellent, but he's not a primary creator or a guy who can manufacture offense when the game slows down in the playoffs. Hart is valuable, but his offensive limitations mean defenses can largely ignore him in crucial possessions. Meanwhile, you're giving up a player who opponents have to game plan their entire defensive strategy around, who commands double teams that create open looks for teammates, and who can genuinely dominate games on both ends when he's locked in. The Lakers would be transforming from a team built around 2 superstars into a team with 1 superstar and a bunch of good role players, which historically is not a formula that wins championships unless that one superstar is an all-time great in his absolute prime, which LeBron at 39 isn't anymore despite his continued excellence. The timeline consideration is crucial here, and something Lakers fans need to wrestle with honestly. LeBron James is not going to play forever. He's already exceeded every reasonable expectation for longevity, continuing to perform at an all-NBA level at an age when most players have long since retired. But Father Time remains undefeated, and the reality is that the Lakers' championship window with LeBron is limited, probably measured in 2 or 3 years maximum. Trading Anthony Davis doesn't extend that window. It slams it shut. Even if the pieces you get back are valuable long-term assets, They don't help you win a championship in the next 2 years, which means you've essentially punted on maximizing the remainder of LeBron's career. That seems like organizational malpractice for a franchise that should be desperately trying to give LeBron one more title before he retires. The injury concerns that people constantly raise about Davis are legitimate, but also somewhat overblown in how they're discussed. Yes, AD has missed games throughout his career due to various injuries. Yes, his playing style as a big man who's physical on both ends makes him somewhat injury-prone. But he's also been largely available during the most important stretches, playing in the playoffs when healthy and providing elite production in those high-leverage games. The Lakers won a championship with Davis as the best player on the floor in the finals. He's proven he can stay healthy for extended stretches when it matters most. Trading him because he might get injured is like refusing to date someone attractive because they might break your heart. You can't make decisions based purely on worst-case scenarios when the upside is winning championships. Furthermore, what exactly is the Lakers' path to contention if they trade Davis? The team doesn't have enough young assets to pivot into a quick rebuild. That means spending into the luxury tax without hesitation because championship windows are finite and you can't waste them trying to preserve future flexibility that might never matter. The Lakers should be in win-now mode, not asset preservation mode, and trading Anthony Davis would represent a fundamental misunderstanding of where this franchise stands and what it should be trying to accomplish. When I look at the Lakers roster with Davis as the centerpiece alongside LeBron, I see a team that's absolutely capable of competing for championships if everything comes together. The defense has legitimate upside, with AD anchoring the paint. The offense has enough firepower with LeBron's playmaking and Davis's scoring versatility. Drop your thoughts in the comments because these conversations about franchise direction are exactly what being a passionate fan is about. And I genuinely want to understand how Lakers Nation is processing these massive strategic questions. The bottom line is this: Anthony Davis remaining with the Los Angeles Lakers isn't just preferable, it's absolutely essential if this franchise wants to compete for championships in the immediate future. His two-way dominance is irreplaceable, his chemistry with LeBron is invaluable, and his presence keeps the Lakers relevant as a destination for veteran talent-seeking titles. Trading him for depth pieces and draft picks would be organizational malpractice that punts on the remainder of LeBron's career and leaves the franchise wandering in mediocrity without a clear path back to contention. The correct move is to keep Davis, build aggressively around him and LeBron, spend whatever it takes to upgrade the margins of this roster, and maximize what remains of this championship window before it closes permanently. That's how you honor the legacy of Lakers basketball. That's how you give your stars the best chance to deliver banners. And that's how you maintain this franchise's standard of excellence that generations of fans have come to expect and demand. Anthony Davis is a Los Angeles Laker, and if management has any sense, he's going to stay a Laker for years to come. Make sure you subscribe to Lakers News Fan Report if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss critical coverage as we navigate this crucial stretch of the season. Share this video with fellow Lakers fans because understanding these strategic franchise decisions is essential for being an informed supporter of this team. I'll be back with more comprehensive analysis as situations develop. Until then, let's go Lakers, and let's trust that our front office recognizes what we have in Anthony Davis and makes the smart decision to build around him rather than make a move we'd regret for years.